Hi, welcome back to our speed lessons, right? And we are going to continue with our last part on the last lesson on how to draw a one-part journey. So the one-part journey model is a very simple model to draw. Nothing much, nothing hard to learn about it. So once you can draw this basic model, then from the basic model you start to build on the basic model to draw harder questions. So let's look at question 3, which is the last question for us to understand how to draw one-part journey. Now, Gopal took 40 minutes to complete the journey at a speed of 72 kilometers per hour. What was the distance he traveled? So when you draw the model, well, there is a start of a journey, the starting point, all right, that we talked about last lesson, and always to the right. So when you draw the direction of moving, it's always from left to right. But later on, you find that the arrow may come backwards, right? Because they are returning back. So, but right now is always left to right. Okay, so and then there's a the ending point. So your start point and the ending point, and there is a label who is traveling, Gopal, and it's a one-part journey. So there's a family. So speed, distance, and time, and that's your model. Very basic, right? It's like your Primary 3 model drawing is something like your parcel model, or comparison model, which is a very basic kind of model. So what you're looking at is very basic, right? Nothing fanciful about the model, very basic. But from this basic model, you start to build, okay, to make it even more elaborate for later questions. All right, so what do we do next? The next step is to plug the numbers and put inside. So the time taken for Gopal to travel is 40 minutes. And the speed of Gopal is 72 km per hour. So what's the distance? Question mark. All right, now last lesson we talked about a common careless mistake. Now in this question, there is also another very common careless mistake that students will make. So before we talk about that, let's look at the triangle, right? So the triangle is the distance is on top and the speed and the time below. So to find the distance, you have to take speed multiplied by time. Okay, now this is a common mistake that you will try to avoid or you must avoid. Now, most students or some students, when they write their steps, they like to do without the units. So 72 times 40, right? They do this way, 72 times 40 and they get the answer, right? So 72 times 40, and that is very wrong. Okay, that is very wrong. Why is it very wrong? Now, because if you put the units, if you put down the units, okay, let me show you. Now, if I put down my units inside the steps, that will be 72 km per hour multiplied by 40 minutes. And if you put the units, which is what I always tell my students, when you do speed problems, you must always put the units so that you can check to see whether the units are the same. If the units are not the same, then you cannot multiply, right? Yeah, you can't multiply because the units are different. So when you do math, whether it's speed or other topics, you always have to make sure the units are the same before you can plus or minus, say for speed. So what must you do? Then you will have to change the minutes to hour, right? So how do you change the minutes to hour? That is another struggle because students, they don't know how to change or they forgot how to change the minutes to hour. So, and it's no calculator. You can't use calculator to solve. So what do you do? Now, this is how you change the minutes to hour. You have 72 km per hour multiplied by, you just have to write 40 out of 60. Okay, 40 out of 60 hour. So that's how you change the minutes to hour. And then what do you do? Simplest form. All right, try to get your simplest form. If not, if you're not getting the simplest form, then what do? You can still get the answer. You cancel. So change the whole number into a fraction. Okay, yeah. And then what you learn in P5, how to cancel. So how do we cancel? Now, you divide by 10, divide by 10. So you can cancel vertically, right? So again, you are tested on how to cancel. That's why when you do speed problem, why is it hard? Because there are many related topics or many related lessons which you have learned and you need to recall. So in this part of the lesson, you have to recall how to cancel to make the number smaller. And then after that, you can cancel 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 72 divided by 6 will be 12. And then when you cannot cancel already, then what do? You multiply. So you multiply the numerators, you get 48, and then you multiply the denominators and you get 1. So how many kilometers? And you get 48 kilometers. So the distance traveled is 48 km. And that's it. That's how you solve the speed problem. So you can see that in this particular problem, right, what do you see? You can see that there's a common mistake. The common mistake is when students don't put the units into their steps, and then they multiply without checking whether the units are the same. So you have to put the units in your step so that you can check. And if the units are not the same, then you will need to make the units the same, right? So in my coming many lessons on speed, all right, you will be able to learn also on how to avoid careless mistakes, right? So speed can also be quite tricky because of all these little things that we don't do and that causes us to lose our marks. So for this question 3, you can see that it's a one-part journey model and it's not very hard to draw. So in our next lesson, we are going to build on this model and we will learn how to draw two-part journey. Okay, how do you draw a two-part journey, right? And that will be quite interesting. All right, so I'll see you in our next lesson video.